Hello.
Marcin,
Hey, Marcin.
Hey, James. How are you?
I'm good, man. How about you?
Good, good. Thanks. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, everything's looking good, man. Same background again. You haven't moved in 2 weeks. Yeah, looking nice. This is
And William, and I'm in the same room.
this is Suraj, my co-host. We go way back. We've known each other for years. We'll just have a nice conversation with you today, man, if that's cool.
Sounds good. Hey, Suraj. How are you?
Nice to meet you, man. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, yeah. So where are you guys based now?
I'm in London. Suraj has moved pretty permanently out of the country. I think to get away from me, frankly. He's really embracing the whole remote work model. But he's gone back to India.
Yeah. So I'm based in India.
Okay, yeah, which is the reason is understandable,
Yeah. It's far enough away as well, right?
Exactly. That's very good. That's very good. All right. So, okay. So you're in London. So we had a little event yesterday. You know, if I would know, I would probably like ping you. But yeah, we had some automation event yesterday.
Oh, nice. Who'd you have around? Was it like potential clients, other companies, or?
Yeah, more like ecosystem. Yeah, so kind of potential partners and so on. So just we met in the bar in Soho. You know, had a few drinks and kind of went for one slide deck and just have a good chat.
Lovely. So are you on form today? Or have you been drinking a lot? what Marcin are we dealing with?
If my responses are delayed, okay.
It's not the lag. It's not the computer lag.
You're like, hey, excuse me.
So that's why this intro chat is good, because kind of it's going to warm me up as well. But no, I had already one client call today, so.
Nice one, yeah. Yes. How's stuff in general? How's your daughter? How's she liking the new promotion, or has she not started yet?
No, she knows it's the same job, so they just upgraded her to like a better position, and so it's good. Yeah, she's good. We're gonna have a weekend this weekend. We're all spending kind of family all together. So no, all good. So that's positive. Yeah, it's good to hear if people just get better in things, right?
Yeah, man. You want to have at least some kind of yardstick by which you measure your life and how you're progressing, right? I think a lot of people just kind of meander through life and just like pick up whatever comes, and they don't have this kind of how can I measure how better I'm getting at the skills that matter to me?
Yeah, in personal life sometimes it's difficult to measure, but you definitely want to have a progress, right? And more important is that the progress is in the right direction.
Right.
Because
you can make progress, but we go in a completely opposite direction. Yeah. I mean, we've all been there to a degree, right?
That's right. So yeah, it's difficult to measure everything, but yeah, progress in the right direction. That's what you want, right? And every next generation should be easier for them, and it should be much more advanced as well, right?
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with you, man. I think also when you say progress in the right direction, it always comes back to having a plan, like having an actual goal in mind that you can make progress towards, rather than just kind of aimlessly spending each day doing whatever.
So you need to have you need to have a target, okay, what you want to do, because plan then is think of it, to me the plan is also a part of execution, and at least you should know what you want to achieve and try to do it that way. But it's like in business, it's never works exactly in the same way as you were planning it from the very beginning, because it will go sides a little bit, and then you'll have to kind of fix things. It's the same with all the IT projects, deliveries, and and the way you run the business and hire people and all of that. You have the plan, but it's never gonna follow that path exactly, right? So hey, you need to manage it. Again, you need to manage it to make sure that actually you stick as close to this plan as possible.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah. Yes. It's about I think it's when we're younger, right? We do that little bit of meandering around and we go down the wrong path and we choose the wrong things. But it's very valuable as well because we learn what we do and we don't want to do, right? And over time, we kind of converge on the right answer. And I'd love to hear from you as well, Marcin, after is like, how did your journey bring you to where you are now? Like, how did all the kind of maybe little missteps and mistakes you made turn you into the person you are today with your automation business? And you say to yourself, like, this is what I want to work on for the next 5, 10, whatever it may be, years of your life.
Yeah. Yeah. And then look, I also say there's no bad mistakes. Okay. Like, okay, there's like really bad mistakes, which hopefully like nobody should make them, right? That's why you should manage yourself and okay, but overall, only people that don't do anything don't make any mistakes. It's good to make mistakes because, like you say, this is one thing you learn, but very often you might discover something that was like unexpected and actually a better way of doing things, right? Like, like all this new tech wouldn't happen if somebody like wouldn't say, oh, actually, I'm going to try to do it in a different way. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And they didn't know from the very beginning if they're going to succeed or they're going to fail, right? But they said, no, I'm going to do it differently.
And there's a big period as well where you'll be ridiculed or there'll be doubters and there'll be people saying you're doing it wrong. And it takes a certain kind of someone to actually ride out those initial months and maybe even years of people on your back saying, like, what are you doing? You're doing, like, why can't you just do it this way and that way and telling you what to do? And only to come out victorious, at the end of it.
Well, there's that quote, isn't there? It's like, first they laugh at you, then they watch you, and then they join you, or something like that.
That's very well said. That's very well said. And you know what? I'm still at this stage 1 with our business. Like,
or they laugh at you.
What we do is pretty innovative. Not everybody gets it, and like if even the big automation leaders, like biggest companies like, I don't know, UiPath, okay, for example, spends millions on marketing, like telling people how to do marketing, how to do automation, but actually they are not even close from the performance perspective to like what we do. Okay, like when we're talking, like we're running a project where we automate like 80% of work for one of the team, for one of the businesses where they have like over 200 employees, and we run it like completely like on a fully autonomous way. That 80% of automation kind of just does the job for the people. Like they don't believe us, they don't believe us because their technology just is not able to do it. They say like, oh, but with our technology, for every 10 employees, like we need to have one manager to like manage those automations.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you just get managers, managers, right?
And you have 200 people. That means like you need to have 20 managers automation managers to manage it. Okay. Because, but again, this is a technology, like, everybody's kind of, curious at the moment, how can you run it? But, our architecture is different. Our type of automation is different. We were thinking of scalability and security, like as the first features, where they built automation first. And later on, they were thinking like, how can I scale it? But it was too late. Because
when you told me about the technology, I was thinking, like, firstly, it seems very generalistic and it just seems like this kind of one size fits all solution. But the more you explain it, it sounds very malleable based on your client, right? So how do you, when a client approaches you saying, okay, we need automation needs, or you've identified someone that they need that, how do you then go about the diagnosis and identify the areas where, okay, you need this automated and this automated?
Yeah, so from a tech and software perspective, you're right. It's pretty generic. You could do quite a lot. But then, it took us 2 years to make a decision on what is that we're going to do and what is that we're not going to do. And then when we decided what we're going to do, we actually specialized in those 3 buckets that we do. Okay, and we do 10x value proposition, we call it. Like if you want to build your own anything as a service, business. If you want to build your automated operation, so we call it 10x ops, and we call it 10x growth. If you want to like accelerate your sales and, use our sales automation platforms. So, we decided we're just doing these 3 things as a business. You probably could do like much, much more, And then that focus helps also us to actually being an expert in those areas. And when you become an expert, this is how you learn like how to actually, do those discoveries, etc. Because in every bucket, clients will have very similar needs. So, there's different needs between 10x growth and 10x ops. But if you're in ops, the operations managers, for multiple different businesses will have like very similar needs. So we've identified that. We've prepared the processes on like, what sort of questions to ask, etc. And, how to run them, through the journey, and run a little bit of like initial workshops, to help them. But it takes time to learn how we're running it for over 2 years now. I think, there's some areas that we really excelled. There's probably a lot of things we will still learn, but progress is there. So
when you're coming to a client, is it normally like where does it swing? Does it more clients that come to you who clearly are in need of something and they're like, help me out, like do whatever it takes? Or are you kind of cold outreaching and trying to impose yourself more upon the clients?
There's so very often I say it starts with two types of clients. Clients that found out what we do and they believe it's possible. And they come and they sometimes they don't know how to do it. So, they will ask, questions like how to do it. Sometimes they will know how to do it, but they know it's possible. And the second, the other part is the people that just don't believe it's possible. So they've read somewhere about like AI being able to like respond to email messages, right? And they just don't believe. So what they come, they want to learn. Okay, they want to learn, but they don't have that courage to actually like try it because automation also requires a transformation within the business. And transformation requires a courage for, a top manager to say, let's try it. Let's press the button. Let's run it for, 3 months, maybe. Okay. Maybe not for like full blown, maybe let's run it a small project, but let's try it. Let's then compare results. And then we're going to make, decisions. But what I see is still a lot of people just don't have that courage and are not brave enough to like embrace it. I think they more comfortable with the way they work now, and they just want to like stick, in to the place they're in.
I think that touches on like a very general human tendency to seek comfort. Do you know what I mean? Like a lot of people would rather.
Yes, you are absolutely right, but. Think of it as, in the end of the day, you work for the business, and very often the business will have a growth plans. So as the CEOs, every CEO thinks that he's hiring people that will help him or her to push and move company forward. Okay, so while creating kind of security around employees, is important and so on, you still want to innovate. You still want to be ahead of your competition. You still want to, be the best in class. And well, I guess it's life. Just some people will tell you on the interview that yes, we're going to do it, and then when they get hired, they will not necessarily, make those decisions even as the managers, right?
People. But I imagine most managers, when they kind of think about using your services, are just looking over their shoulder being like, Marcin's going to put me out of business if we take this on, right? If you're going to start automating away 80% of it, surely there's going to be some kind of headcount reduction that comes hand in hand with that.
And, my answer to that is always like this. I don't mind if automation is going to do my job and I will still be paid and I can go to a bar and have a drink at the same time. I don't mind, right? If that's going to be the future, that people will have to do less, that's absolutely fine. But the real answer is the automation is not going to take your jobs, okay? Like the people that will use automation will. Because, very similar, last month, ChatGPT 3, all of these things, came out, everybody is using it. And look at the job of a developer. okay, now, a developer is not just required to like write the code, but actually even, those power users, or they call them citizen developers, like can come up with like a process design and say, okay, now I want to like build technology for that. They can go on ChatGPT, ask, write me the code to like do this. And they will actually get the code with like, pretty good quality. So things will change. It will not take a lot of jobs, but I think it's normal that everybody is expected to learn if you work with the technology. Technology moves all the time, so you need to jump on the train and learn every day.
Marcin, what kind of company values do you think are important to encourage so that people are open to this change and to have the courage to innovate and the courage to change things, right? Because ultimately it's about trying new technologies, saying, right, this might not work, but we could give it a go because the potential reward is very high. Okay, the potential failure is greater than normal, but the reward could be fantastic and we could outcompete our competitors. So one, as a company, and two, as an individual, how do you encourage that mentality? What kind of mind state does a person need to have?
Yeah, so it's not just mindset, but think of it, we call it as, you need to build innovation culture within the business. We call it like 10x culture. Everything we do is like 10x for 10x performance improvement. Okay, so we call it 10x culture. And look, 10x culture needs to start from the top person in the business. It needs to be CEO, owner, whoever it is. Then the second top person is a manager of the business unit that will run this first automation project. And then you find, those first people who actually are open to innovation. And if you're going to ask questions to people like, we're thinking of automating some of the processes, who'd like to try it? I guarantee you, a couple of people from the team will, raise their hand up and say, okay, I want to try it. I'm interested. So you get those, first people to kind of as your, founding team for a 10x culture. And then what you do is we run it through 3-stage process. We call it target, achieve more. You target the areas you want to automate and kind of to start with. Again, with the support from the top. And this is like very, very important, because if you don't have support from the top, people will ignore it. But then, so you have a target, then you have achieve. So you actually run those little, few months engagements to actually achieve what you were planning and get the first, results that you planned. And, it's quite easy to like estimate what is going to look like better than what you have at the moment. So, so you set it up this way and to make sure that you always progress. So you want to achieve it, if it's a small. And then, we said this first stage is more. This is where you communicate those successes across the board. You identify like new groups that would like to join this automation journey and so on. And you kind of, run that in circles. That's how we do it.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense, man. I'm just thinking there, you talk a lot about what sounds like hierarchy, right? So there needs to be quite a firm structure in place. There needs to be people at the top who are pulling the strings. Or do you believe more in kind of like a flat organizational structure is best for success?
So both will work. Okay. Like so when I look at the structure, I look more at, if you set up a new business and kind of, new teams, then you want to think about the structure. And this is where you can make those choices of having a flat or not. I'm a big believer of a flat, but, but also, I'm a big believer of like having a lot of, very independent kind of units working together. But very often reality is you go to a existing business and you cannot make that choice, because they have the structure already. They already, have the CEO, they already have C-level, they already have VP level, directors level, and so on. So it's very important that just your kind of a process will work with both. If it's if it's a big a tree within your hierarchies, or is this a flat structure? The bigger business is going to be, they will have to build a little bit more complex structure as well, because, you're going to have to you're going to go to different geos. You want to have, different teams for different like geos and all of that. So yeah, it's,
you have like a remote, fairly international team, right? So how the hell do you manage all these guys? It must be hard because I'm thinking, listening to the guy who founded Deal, right? And they're a company of, I think, thousands of people now. And they're all remote and they're all across the world because it's about, remote working and facilitating those kind of contracts. So how do you find managing these people? How do you keep tabs on them? Is it harder than managing people in an office? Can you shed some light on that?
I think it's, when you build a remote team, and I'm definitely a big fan of remote people. And when we hire, we very often hire people that travel as well. So when I hire somebody who is based in one country, we say, okay, today you're in this country, but if you decide to go somewhere else, you're free to do so. And we have two employees, one is Americans that then move to Colombia and move to Europe. And then, we have another one who's Northern Europe, moved to kind of Central Europe, and now he's going south of Europe. So, people travel as well. And that's good. That's we definitely encourage people to travel, because when you travel, you have also open mind to actually see things from a different perspective, and that helps a lot. Cultural barriers are quite difficult when you hire remote people. So when people travel and being in different places, they will be just more open-minded and will fit into a common culture. That's number one. Then the number two is, the way we kind of organize this. Well, we are quite organized in the cloud, but the way we ask people to work is for the specific roles. We have actually a specific, you can call them KPIs that we expect people to do. So, and we give people freedom to do it, and the time they want to do it at, and how do you want to organize it? It does require people to be self-organized, because remote people that work for you, they need to have energy to actually get up in the morning, shave.
You don't have the trackers on the keyboard, no, to see when they're at the desk.
No, you don't. But you want those people, not just to stay bed for the whole day and kind of think that, hey, nobody's going to spot it, because probably nobody's going to spot it. Okay, but you want to be that kind of self organized, so you're actually gonna do it, and it's not about washing, but it's also about the job.
So you want them to take real ownership of their role. So that
that's right.
Yeah.
And more, when they take ownership, they actually contribute to the team much more, because they really see, oh, I'm not here just to do these tasks. I'm actually contributing, doing real stuff. And those are my problems. So then they talk with the rest of the teams, how to solve those problems. And the progress is happening much faster.
Yeah, because I was reading on your company site, one of the lines was we transform your employee into a manager. And I wanted to ask you, what's the difference between an employee and a manager, in your opinion, Marcin?
That's right. This is exactly what we do. So think of it as, in a lot of businesses, people come to work every day to do their tasks. Okay. So, you're let's say an operations manager. Okay, you come to the office, you log into your systems, you check emails, you check your ticketing systems with all the requests, and then you know that every day you need to look at the urgent requests, work on them, then do on some others. This is what we call a task executor. Okay, type of the job. This is the type of the job that we think is going to change. Well, we know it's going to change. Okay, quite significantly. Because think of it as, if you're coming every day and you have always more work that you can actually do, because that's the reality as well, then you're in this task, in those tickets, in those emails, and your whole kind of brain is in that environment. Now unfortunately, that limits you then to think outside of where you are at the moment. Okay, it's very difficult to step back. Okay, and think how could I do these things differently than what I was doing? Because you're doing it every day in the same way, and they ask you you need to do 20 tickets per day. Okay, so it's this is a little bit like hamster wheel type of the job. Okay, it's still required to be done, but the motion is like that. Now, when we bring automation, think of it as, we would look like, okay, what are the processes that you do during your day? And actually we would identify that definitely some of them we can actually automate. Now, what we mean by changing from a kind of an employee to an, we call it workplace manager, okay, means actually you should be able, when you come in the morning, you should be able, before you start the work, you should be able to step back, okay, look at actually what is that you need to do, and then make decisions. What are the parts you could automate, even if you cannot automate them today? Even 1 hour per day spent on automation over a period of time will drastically improve your performance. So even if you just spend like 1 hour, in the morning thinking, okay, those are the things, I could automate. Those are the things, that could help me do the job. Then actually after some time, what is going to happen is you're going to have a lot of automation built in. So your work is not going to be just working those tickets exactly in the same way and less thinking about it, but you will actually distance yourself. You will manage, how the processes within your workplace work. Okay. And that's much, much better efficiency, because that also allows a lot of people to actually show the real value to the business. The new things that they have probably learned in a lot of other places that they didn't have chance even to talk about because they were just, really busy with their daily tasks that they had. Hope it makes sense.
No, that makes a lot of sense.
It does make sense. Yeah, I think it's very it's quite an idyllic end goal, right? To have everyone, operating at their mass capacity and automating all the things it can be. But to play devil's advocate, I think a lot of people just aren't built for that on almost like a fundamental and personality level. I suspect, and I kind of know from my time in the corporate world, that a lot of people do just go there and clock in and clock out, collect their paycheck, and want to escape on doing the bare minimum, right? And of course, that's a whole different problem in itself. So I wanted to kind of back down on that and say, how do you hire for people when you kind of knowing that they're going to be top performers and they have the ability to manage in the future? Because not all people do, right? And at the same time, a lot of people have the ability to bullshit their way through interviews and make it seem like they're going to be a future manager or partner or whatever it may be.
And just to add to that, Marcin, before you answer that question, to add to that, the only people I've ever seen that consistently take ownership of their work is entrepreneurs, because it's their baby, right? It's their company. Yeah. I just want to add that comment, but yeah, please answer James' question.
Yeah. So hiring is super important, okay? And everybody thinks that they can fix hiring from the day one. And my point on this is you can't. You can't actually until you try it. Okay. So there's actually, you need to have a balance here. First, you need to hire people with open-minded, kind of cultural fit into your organization. Okay. Very often during interviews, you can just ask people about what they do outside of their work. Okay. Very often you can spot these things, from what are their hobbies, or, if it's a developer, hey, show me your GitHub, repository. Is there anything there that you did, maybe some spare time, maybe, where you were learning something, experimenting, right? Do you have that mentality where you kind of want it? Okay, go on Stack Overflow. Have you contributed to anything? Have you helped anybody else before? Right? If the answer is no, then they're at the very beginning of the journey. It doesn't mean that they will not be able to do it, but it just means that they haven't showed their commitment yet. So, you can spot certain things you can not spot. And of course, you're going to hear a lot of BS and how beautiful, and, how 8 or 9 out of 10 their skills are and all of that. And, and we hear it as well. But the way we kind of do it is we you will never have ideal candidates, and you also want to hire them when you actually need them. So you need to give a chance for the best people that you've selected. And then the way we do it is we set up a probation period where for every type of a role we have our own sort of a KPIs of what we would be expecting that person to do as a kind of at a full speed. Okay. And then we actually like every other week, we like have a conversation with that person, tell them where they are on the journey. And those KPIs are not just purely like that specific job related KPIs. Those are a bit extended KPIs. We'll think of it is, I just hired a developer that, she has like some KPIs on like how many processes she needs to automate, how many bugs, like, she should be able to look at things like this. So like, very, very kind of, a dev related KPIs. But we also have KPIs like, okay, now tell me, how can you manage like external freelancers that sometimes we get to like, progress with development quicker, okay? Or write me a blog every week that will be a developer blog that will like help you to build relationships with other developers and kind of, show them that you fit in the team. So, those are kind of, the aspects that we look at it. Then like, again, different roles, will have different requirements. But we, for example, we let people do their job at the time they want, and specifically developers. I can tell you a lot of developers that will tell me, so do you mind if I'm going to do coding in the night? They're asking me, right? And I love this type of people, because reality is, the software development is a creative job. So you need to have like environment around you to actually, be able to put yourself in that creativity. So you need to have, very often like, you don't want family to like, shouting and telling like, hey, do this, do that. When you work from home or, maybe kind of, remote offices, you want to kind of, have a good environment for you to do it. And I can tell you, a lot of developers just love coding in the night. So yeah, you can do it.
I think going back to what
me
you
included. Me included.
This guy will stay up till like 8 a.m. You don't understand. He'll stay up all night, and we'll jump on a call in the morning, and he won't even know like shit. He'll just be so energized, having done like 7 hours back to back of coding. It'll just be the most chirpy, happy, upbeat version of himself, and I can't even relate to that. That's crazy to me.
And that's another point you actually raised. The level of energy is like super important. That's what I should mention. When I hire, I call it, you lost me at hello. Okay. If you join an interview and I'm going to say, hey, how are you doing? I'm fine. Well, that's probably
game over.
That's probably
leave the call.
Next.
But what's it?
It's not that I lost into the connection, right?
Just like start, like dicking around. But I hear it is what you're saying is, what I take away from that is that you need someone who's proactive, right? Because I know that, and I have a good friend of mine who's just become like a product manager at like a 3 or 4 person startup, right? And these guys are pretty much pre-product, but they've already secured, I think, about 2 or 3 million in pre-seed. And he was like, I'm coming to this company. I'm basically CEO number 2. Like, it's all on my shoulders. I've never founded a company before. I've only really worked in finance. I've done a bit of product management, but it's now all on my shoulders. And it's like, how do you even hire for someone like that? Because they're not just going to be taking orders from, CEO, CTO, other people. They're going to be responsible at the very top level for setting strategy, talking to customers, defining how the product looks, and it's all going to be on their shoulders. So you need to choose someone that doesn't crumble under that pressure and actually is resourceful enough and can think on their feet to adapt their strategy when needed. Because I hear it from time and time again, talking to CEOs, listening to podcasts, that people say hiring is one of the biggest mistakes you can make, because it takes like a month to hire someone, but to completely work out that they're doing a bad job and kind of clean them out of the system, give them enough support, and then replace them could take 6 months to a year. So it's a very costly decision.
It is, but again, people think that every hire will be brilliant. It will not be. You need to actually understand that. So you need to come up with your own process of like how you're going to test it, because VC-backed companies can probably hire anybody they want, but then they will actually burn a lot of cash, and they will never get the employees like to contribute, more than actually they cost, right? On the other side, bootstrap businesses cannot hire everybody, so they need to hire who they can. So every business needs to kind of find their own way of doing that. But everybody should find a way to give a chance. And I very often just ask a simple question to people, like for kind of this type of roles. I just ask, like, how can you help me?
What do you bring
questions.
to the table, right? What can you offer?
Yeah, simple. How can you help me to understand how they understand our business, to understand actually what is their approach? Okay, and it's a simple question, but I think it's one of these, powerful questions that if people know how they can contribute, they will tell you. They will come with like millions of ideas, and even if you like don't do all of them, you can always create a list, because maybe you will do them in the future. But you will see how they respond to that, and that's the question that I use for hiring that type of people. Yes,
and that immediately filters out people that aren't proactive, like you mentioned, right? Because I love the example that you gave of show me your GitHub. What projects have you taken in the space that you didn't have to? You just did them because you enjoyed it, and I really like that you said that, because I think it was a couple of years ago, I got into the financial industry as a quant, and a lot of my friends from university were asking me, or younger guys from me were asking me, hey, how did you do that? Or like, what's the best approach? Or I didn't study this subject. What can I do? And first thing I'd tell everyone is, look, do 3 to 5 projects in whatever space. It doesn't have to be finance, whatever you're interested in, whatever the hell that is. Do 3 to 5 projects, get them on your GitHub, go on the first, second stage interview. When they say, what's your coding style? Say, actually, guys, do you mind if I just share my screen? I'd like to show you my GitHub. Because most people would want to hide their GitHub because they're like, oh, it's probably bad. But if you're actually come to them like, let me show you, please, look at my code. People are going to love that. People are going to like, whoa, you didn't have to do this, but you did it anyway. That's fantastic.
Spot on. This is exactly what we see. Those are the people we hire, and those are the people we want to have on the team, right?
Absolutely.
In the end of the day, our core technology is open source as well. So think of it, you can go download it free of charge and kind of look at it. Okay. Then we're actually now launching the GitHub, where we're going to open source a lot of automations. Okay. Now our developers build automations. We're going to open source them just for everybody. You want to, I don't know, you want to extract information from all your invoices and kind of digitize all your kind of incoming invoices. We will open source all of that. Okay, so anybody can actually use it. But then you also kind of create a culture of being able to share and not being afraid and hide things. But that also then encourages people to actually build a better quality, because
Marcin,
if they're a developer,
what's the commercial angle of open sourcing the technology? Because you're essentially giving away the technological defensibility. So I get why developers do it, to share, collaborate, and improve. But from the perspective of a private-owned company, what is the commercial angle? Just completely out of curiosity.
Yeah. So I've worked with, I think, 5 or 6 enterprise open source vendors in the past, and I was actually at the very beginning when Red Hat was building, the first subscription models. Okay. Mm-hmm. So, when you build your open source business, it's very important that from the very beginning, you differentiate what is a free, what is a commercial that you actually, pay for. Okay. So with our software, to give you an example, we open source what they call Miami Dev. So this is a software that you can use to develop and test automation. You can run automation, but you can run automation like one automation at a time. So this is those big vendors, what they do, with getting a lot of marketing money and telling that they do the best automation, but they only can run one automation at a time. Okay, this is a free version. Now the enterprise version that we call it, is actually you can run those automations that you've built even with the free product. Okay, in a cluster of automations and run hundreds or thousands of iterations of their automations at the same time. So from the very beginning, you need to actually define, what is the differentiator between free and between commercial. And that's what you do. Long term, we hope that open sourcing will help us with building community of developers around it, because we would like to, I think we're really building some good technologies, and, we help people kind of embrace it, and will kind of help us even improve it. Yeah. We think just showing the technology, that doesn't actually limit you from what you can do, because think of it, this is an advanced technology. So it's not that you can just like people would say steal or take everything away from you. You know, you don't need just technology. You need those best practices. Okay, you need the support. You need to have people that actually done it in the past. So there's much more for you to be successful than like just a few lines of code.
So I'm almost hearing two things from what you said. One is that it's like a freemium model. It's open source. People can try it. They can run an automation, see the magic themselves, and if they like it, come back and pay more. But two, because you just told us that hiring is one of the hardest things for a startup, and you creating a community of developers who are actively contributing around the world. You could probably just go through your own community and pick out the best ones and say, hey, you know what? We really love the work you've done. Would you like to work with us full time on this big project we got coming up? So you're almost making the hiring easier for yourself long term.
That's right. Like with the first one, I would say maybe don't think about it as a freemium to try it out, because if you want to build automation, you don't try it. It's not like a little software that you just install, you click the button, kind of, you have the results. Those are the process automation that you need to design and run them for a while to get the results and decide, okay, now I have an improvement. So our clients never ask, oh, can I just have it like for free? It's more, think of it like if you're a sysadmin, or if you're like a person that has capabilities to like build automations for like yourself, you can actually go and do it. Okay, so that's what gives you just that accessibility. Okay, and then on the other point, from a hiring perspective, absolutely, and it's just not for us, because I think this is what is going to like create the whole ecosystem, the pool of talent for the technology, not just for us, for our clients, for our partners. So that's where we'd like to go with that. Yes,
that's fantastic. So what's on the timeline now for the next year and a half? What are the objectives? What are the goals, the targets?
Great question.
Yeah, he has a phase 2 that he won't tell us about, but he has big plans coming up that is not ready to be public information here.
Look. Well, there's just some things. So for you to know, every year we spend almost the whole December on planning for the whole year, and it's not very detailed, but a lot of aspects we actually touch, and we know like which things we actually want to do it, and some things will still be subject to discussion. But we have a plan, definitely. Okay, I think we're still with the business. What do I call? We're at this stage 1. Okay, it doesn't mean we're there at the very, very beginning. I think we're already like what people call scale up. Okay, but look, I can tell you, if you want some numbers, whatever. Like, I would like to have 100 clients by the end of the year, right? So that's the overall kind of goal from the business perspective.
What's the number today?
I'm not going to tell you, but we're not there yet, but we're definitely past like a half of it. So we're
how big's your team? How big's your team, and how much would you need to scale it to get to 100 clients?
We will not actually need to have a lot of hires. We probably will need like around 4 hires or so, okay? Because we don't build automations. Our business model is more to like providing the support, assisting clients, but they build their own implementation teams, or we will bring implementation partners. So from a team perspective, we don't have to actually hire that many people. So I think that's definitely doable. And my concern is just how quickly the economy will move. Right? There's actually good things happening after post-COVID, where during the COVID, at the very beginning it was very good, because everybody like didn't know how to do their work during the COVID, so they were doing a lot of automation. But then because of kind of a closed economy, a lot of businesses stopped making decisions. We at the very beginning, like we're already in February. Actually, January was pretty good month. So if we see it going that way, that trend, that we're coming out of the issues that are COVID related, and and the businesses will recognize that, okay, level of prices are back to pre-COVID, for like supply, everything, we actually should like go back to normal and and progress. Then I think that's very doable, not actually very very I would say not possible target to achieve. Not easy one, But hey, we've got a great team. We're going to do it.
Absolutely.
Let's do it. Let's do it. Yes.
100%. So I want to go back purely from a technical point. You mentioned that you build a system that supports people to create automation. So how does that work? So you don't build the automation. You don't go into their software and automate their software yourself, but rather I assume you have some kind of architecture that they can kind of plug into or automate their processes with what's already existing in your technology stack. So
that's right.
How does that work? Assume like an amateur to intermediate level technical understanding.
Yeah. Actually, it's very simple because our software has built in two type of languages within the software. Okay, you have what we call business language, and you have technical language. Okay, so you actually start with, we have a 3-stage process for this as well: draw, design, deploy. We call it. So you start with automation of the processes. So you actually draw your process. Okay, you go on whiteboard. Okay, or we use like ClickUp. Okay, like for it, like you can actually like draw your process. I want to get data from this. I want to do this. I want to do that. Do this. And this is like a business language. Okay, so our software can suck that in. Okay, that process description. Okay, and then it will be given to it can be given to technical people or even think of it more like a business power users. Okay, you don't have to be a developer to build our automation. But you need to understand technology. So think of it as like, when you build a SQL queries, if you're using like, SQL database, then you need to know like what is a select, how to build like columns, Mm-hmm. So if you understand that, you don't have to understand any programming language. But, if you understand that, then you would be able to translate your business requirements into technology, and we then take this and turn it into fully automated process. Okay, so that's how it starts. So draw, then design, and then you run one command and it deploys. Okay, and that's the beginning of the journey, because what you're going to see just very quickly is after you build for every person, after you build like probably 50 those modules, okay, like within your processes. Actually, what we see is that people then repeat those modules. So, usually you get around, 20 to 50. For some bigger, it's like 50 to 100, but never more than 100, actually. You build those, think of it, Lego blocks. And then later on, you actually just, get them together. Our software also understands the context. So think of it, if your block is going to say, okay, get me the CRM data, and you're going to say, hey, my CRM equals Salesforce, it's going to take from Salesforce. If you're going to say, get me CRM data, CRM equals HubSpot, it's going to get it from HubSpot, right? So, so we have those elements built in within our software framework to actually kind of support very quick build, very quick deployments. We say internally, if you're not able to automate your process within a day, that means there is something wrong with how your process was designed. Maybe it's too complex. Maybe you should split it into stages and do it that way. But every day, if you have a team of 2 or 3 people, you should be able to every day deliver like 2 new process automations or improvements every day.
Yeah, sometimes it's just bad design as well, right? Where there's too much manual intervention in an internal business process, and you come in as a developer and you're like, why the hell are you exporting this code that I have to then copy paste into this other file and run this other file? Why is it not being done automatically?
And that's a great example because so we have change management built in. Mm-hmm. So in a lot of companies, and we get those questions from clients, like how do you do change management? Because with a lot of vendors, they struggle on how to bring new versions of the process automations, etc. Okay, we've built it, designed it from day one. For us, it's actually you import new process, you click an update, and one command, okay, mm-hmm. and it automates all the automations with the new version, and nice. You starting from new requests, the new versions actually popping up. So yeah, it's so there's some architectural kind of design in the software that does that.
That's fantastic. And I guess you told us just previously that I think you said 2 years went into designing how you're going to build this, like how you're going to scale it before you automate anything. Is like, let's think of how we're going to scale this. So I imagine in that time period there was a lot of brainstorming on what kind of use cases users are going to have.
That's right. What helped really is at the time I was working at the company that was building the clouds, the public clouds.
Nice.
So we had a lot of experts on like how to build scalable architectures and all of that. Okay.
Awesome.
So yeah, I think that was that. To me it was normal because I was in that environment.
Yeah.
But now when I'm outside of the environment, I understand and I talk to clients, understand that for them this is like very innovative, something that they've never done before. So yes, it's.
I think there's a lesson there for our listeners too, that regardless of whatever situation you're in or what kind of job or circumstance you're in, if you can think about where the skills you're learning here are transferable to other industries, other demographics, other areas of business, that's very useful. Because then because a lot of people work in a job and feel like they're wasting time there. They're not doing what makes them feel fulfilled or they're passionate about. Whereas if you start thinking about how can I use what I'm learning here to then up my skills and up my level somewhere else. So it's really insightful, actually.
Oh, 100%. 100%. And I think, again, bringing common standards automations in a lot of places, you actually see that, the standards will be cross-industry. Okay? Because, in the end of the day, if you have an invoice, okay, you want to put the you get a paper invoice and you want to put it into your ERP system. Okay, like in every business, the invoice looks like very, very similar. Okay, has the same structure, the same systems and so on. If you have requests to do external service, in a lot of places they will look like very, very similar ways. So and then cross industry helps actually with innovation as well, because one industry can learn from another industry a lot.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
See, Marcin is like you're obviously a guy with a technical background, a solid technical understanding, but you're so personable as well. And I say that kind of tongue in cheek because a lot of devs that we all know aren't like that. They aren't built like that. So can you shed more light onto kind of like what's your background? Where did you study? What were the first businesses you worked in? And kind of how that helped you kind of mold you into the person you are today as an entrepreneur, as a business leader, who's obviously very charismatic, but has a solid technical foundation.
Sure. So, okay, I started obviously studying, management and IT, and I was like very bad developer. Okay. Like I was one of the worst. So I decided
to join the club. Two and a half. Or should I say two and a half? Bad developers on this school.
So actually, I'm not a developer, right? I'm not a developer. I never was like a real developer, okay? Actually, well, a month ago, with this ChatGPT and, other kind of content generators, there is one of them where you can put your name and it will like tell you who you are. I don't remember the URL now. But this is like a month ago I did it, and that AI called me a developer. And that was I think first time in.
And you're like, yeah,
in my life.
Wear the badge of pride. Like,
yeah, somebody called me a developer, but it wasn't really somebody. so I wasn't a developer, but actually, a long time back. Before even coming here to UK, and that's how I kind of made up here. I was actually setting up new software nearshore development centers. So at that time, I learned a lot, like how to manage developers, like how to describe the tasks for the developers, etc. Then actually, if you look at my LinkedIn profile, you will see like last 20 years I spent working for various software businesses, big and small, helping them with sales, partnerships, management. Okay. But although it was all kind of, think of it, business development and sales related, to me, I always wanted to know the details of underlying technology that we have. I love that because, if you can understand actually what it is and you can translate that and have a conversation about that with your clients, the way you sell it is much, much easier because, you're not just this kind of, the salesperson that kind of, just provides the price and then calls the techie guy for like every question that, they throw at you. because you can actually handle a lot of conversations by yourself, and then only get like really good techies to help you like really with advanced questions. So I was successful in these jobs because I always knew what our technology could do. Okay. And I wasn't like BS people. I would rather always say to a client, look, if we're not a good fit, I understand. But the good thing is I was really working for a nice businesses that had very good software, very good advantages, very good architectures. So I was able to say, like one jobs, like we were going and selling against IBM, for example, winning a market with open source software against IBM, where in some countries, IBM closed their offices. Right, because we were entering those markets and like selling more, competitive like enterprise open source software that like they were doing with their like old school commercial. So I think look, if you ask me, I love technology. I love to understand technology. Okay, and I always ask our technical people like, how do you do this? Why is it working like this? And because then it helps you to actually even understand where is your value.
Absolutely. I think that's critical as well, especially with technology, because usually when you go in and become a specialist, you become exactly that, specialist in one area, and really, really become like the go-to individual for that specific field, whether it's, software design, data science, machine learning, specific types of models, stuff like that. Whereas when you're a generalist, you're able to see the bigger picture, take a step back, piece the pieces of the puzzle together to make a more cohesive whole. And
I've seen both sides of that argument actually. So I've seen people who say if you want to be a startup, entrepreneur or a business leader, you need to be a generalist. Yeah, I've heard other people say, particularly I think in more technical fields, like you need to have your area of expertise, and you will show your colors when you are able to hire the right people around you, surround yourself with the right people that kind of plug in the gaps that you don't have. And not to really smoothen your edges, so to speak, by generalizing yourself, but to really lean into what makes you good at what you do. I just wanted to know, like, what side of that do you fall on?
I think myself, I would probably say I'm more generalist actually, but also I agree with Suraj that you need those experts, but I always even say like you just need both. You need both, but you as one person, you cannot be both. So that's why you hire people who are complementary to you, who can, do things that you cannot do, that can kind of help you. And, so together you can do more. And, I'm not the type of a manager that, thinks that, he is the smartest person in the room and kind of, everybody needs to follow me. I always like ask, how can you help me? You're an expert here. You do it, in a better way. If you're not sure, you probably just can ask, other people as well, get opinions. Let's have a conversation. But I hire smarter people than me because from those specific areas, because that's how we actually like create a great team, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, but it's the number one lesson for management, because people will hire people who are worse than them just so they can feel good about themselves, right? And they'll just to boost their own ego, and it's sad to see when that happens. So that's your experience showing through your years in business, to avoid all those common traps, Marcin. But man, it's been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure talking to you. Absolutely great conversation. I have to hit you up when I'm back in central London. I'll probably come up like once a week. So just let me know when you're around. Maybe the end of this week actually, and we'll have a drink together.
Sounds good. And yeah, thanks for the opportunity. Thanks for the chat. And I'm always happy to chat to people, exchange experiences. I think even here, from what you say, sometimes it's just a confirmation of things, and sometimes you show like a new perspectives that we could look at things that we were not thinking of before. So it's always great to have a conversation. And yeah, if you're in central London, drop me a note and we'll have a drink.
Love it, man. Can't wait.
Awesome, man. It's a pleasure.
Enjoy the rest of your day with your like 3 cats and dogs and multiple kids and your wife. And this guy has a hectic home life. He was like, I was like, oh, do you have kids? Like, yeah. Oh, okay, pets. He's like, yeah, cats and dogs. I was like, wow, this guy does not want an easy life.
That's why I said 10 a.m. came. He's straight onto the call. He was like, I need a break. I need a break. I need to do something else.
Oh my god.
You don't want your life to be boring, right?
That's
true.
Oh,
you want every morning to have a fresh challenge thrown in your face. That's it. That's the way to live.
And then you don't see that this is a challenge after some time. It's not a challenge anymore. It's just a life. And then you actually see that you're like exploring many more things as well at the same time. So again, you learn.
100%.
Yeah, it's that leveling up feeling. I know, is that just the last point? I know exactly what you mean. It's like you want what you think exceptional is now, you want that to be the norm in like a year or 2 years, and you can constantly strive for that. And you look back, and I know I've done it, and Sarai's done it as well. We look back on ourselves kind of 3-4 years ago and be like, we don't even recognize the person we were, because we were so intent on actually being, you know, intentional about leveling up in the right areas, that you can kind of look back and be like, oh, this is a norm now. What was once exceptional is now just day to day.
People can really do 10 times more than they think they can do. Okay, like this is, but more important is they need to start doing it. You need to actually go and do, and it's okay if you fail. But I can tell you, another time you're going to do the same thing. You're going to do it better, and you're going to get better. And and over the time, you would be surprised like how much you improve. This is like with this automation that we do. We say to everybody, spend 1 hour per day on automating stuff, or thinking about like what you want to automate and send it to people to do. And over 6 months, like you will double, like at least like what you're doing.
And it's so much easier now with AI and everything. It's all at our fingertips. That's a great lesson to leave people on. It's just think about where you can automate areas of your life, make your life easier, and free yourself up for higher ROI tasks.
Great. So look, thanks for having me. If you like to get in touch, find me on LinkedIn, Miami.io. It's like Miami with the B.io, right? And,
Miami with the bitches. That's how he rolls.
we have quite a lot of technical people here.
So no company retreats to Miami then. It'll be wasted on them.
We're still at stage 1. You're right. We're still stage 1. So.
I don't want to see what stage 3 is going to be like. A pleasure, Marcin. Have a great rest of your day, man. All the best.
Yeah,
thank you, man. And you too. Yeah, great to meet you guys, and great chat. Yeah, have a good day. Yeah,
bye-bye.